Congratulations on becoming a content creator. But what's this? You only have raw video footage? That won't do. Your fandom requires curated and edited content for the maximum enjoyment to time ratio. But all of those complicated tutorials are too difficult for your tiny little monkey brain, and your attention span just can't handle how long they take. Well, don't worry, we have a video just for you. Instead of trying to turn you into a guru of editing, we're just going to teach you to edit by somebody that barely knows how and really can't stand it. And hello everyone. For anyone that watches my channel, you'll notice that my model's not visible in this video right here because I don't want to block anything I'm about to teach you guys, because we're going to go right quick and easy into how to edit videos for those that have no clue. Like, we're going bottom level here. Now, first off, we're going to use the program Davinci Resolve. Now, this is a free program. It is Hollywood grade, and really the free stuff is amazing. The paid for stuff is literally just if you have like a really fancy camera of a specific model with like really powerful like computer programs and hardware even that you are putting in a computer for literal professional level editing. You won't need that. This is already going to be light years past what you're going to need. So we're going to go over Davinci. Then we're going to go over all the things about it and stuff a little bit. But Davinci is going to be very similar to a lot of other editing programs. So if you're using something else, you can still learn something from this video. But we're going to keep this kind of quick and easy. We're going to talk about Davinci a little bit. Then we're going to talk about the exporting video files, the project settings and stuff and what that means, timelines and stuff, the cutting, the how to do certain edits and stuff with the videos. We're going to keep it quick and easy though, okay? I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible and get to the point and not get drifting off into explaining things. So we're going to see what happens. So first off, we're going to talk about Davinci here. At the bottom here, you're going to see all these little, tabs and stuff. Media, cut, edit, fusion, color, Fairlight, deliver. Don't worry about Fairlight. Color's not going to be used much. Fusion's more advanced, but we'll go over that too. And media's honestly available in cut up here and edit up here as well. So your media pool's kind of there. Now your media pool, you can kind of like set it to certain things and everything else. But in cut, you can still do some stuff. Like I go to cut, that's where all your work's going to be done. And I can just click and drag a file into my media pool here. It'll ask you to change your frame rate based on certain things. And it's okay to do that because you might have faster frame rate. We're making videos here. They don't need to be top of the line frame rates and stuff. So anyways, I rolled a video here. I made a short of it a while back, and we drag it down here, and we create what's called a timeline. The timeline's the video you're going to be making and stuff. Now at the bottom left, you can see there's a disable track and mute track that just kind of like clicks it off or not. But the mute thing we're going to leave on, even though I don't have the audio coming through. I don't want my headsets to bleed, so we're into that. So now we have this video. Now you can see I'm dragging along cut. It just takes forever. That's because cut's not there, but that's how cut works. So that's what edit allows us to do more. We can kind of like go around the clip more, zoom in and out more, and see the entire 4-hour clip that much quicker. Now we'll go looking at Fusion real quick. Fusion is like coding your clip. Median one is basically your what video you're trying to, or clip you're trying to work with and stuff. That's now got the whole one. We'll get to that later. But basically you'll start causing in effects and stuff like you could add certain sort of weird things to it. We'll go over something with that when we get to the text later. I'll show you some Fusion stuff, but basically media out's like the produced thing. So you like put an effect up here, link them together, and your output is coded and stuff. Color does a lot of different things to it. You can use like your blur and stuff. You want to do a blur effect and stuff like that. You play around with it. There's not a lot really to say about it and stuff, and I don't use a lot of color stuff myself. It's a more rare use things for the video editing, but there's a lot of cool effects you can do when you want to do something special. Fairlight, I have no clue. I'm a beginner too. I don't know. I think it's more advanced stuff with Davinci and stuff. It might even involve with the audio and stuff. I haven't worked on it much. You probably might not even need it. Just like me, you don't need anything else. Deliver, the most important. This is how you create your file. This is how you create your video. Once you've got everything good and ready in your timeline, you will come here, you'll change the file name to what you want, you pick the browser you go to, and you might be curious, what file do I set it as to make a YouTube video? always the same thing, MP4 codec H264, 4 to 4, MP4 H264. For the record, H265 is slightly less quality with a lower file size and stuff. You might find some use for it at some point. They're basically the same, but H264 is going to be much better video. Then you just add to your render queue, and then you render all, because it'll be up here the things you can make with videos and stuff. You could even render a bunch of timelines at once, but it doesn't matter. You just want to do one at a time anyways. So that's how that works. Now, going back to cut, because cut's where everything's done. We go to File, Project Settings. This is what you can set for the project. Now, your timelines can be individually modified and stuff, so it's not a big deal here, but this is what it is. Now, it doesn't really matter if you're making 4K, 2K, 1K. It's all going to be kind of like 1K on YouTube eventually anyway, so when you're making your content like this, the quality doesn't matter. I hear that the processing from 4K to 1K actually gives you better response. Even if you're making a 1K video from 1K resolution like creation, you could set your timeline to 4K and it might make it better with YouTube. It also might not. Vertical resolution is how you set it to a short, basically, your phone format, and that makes that resolution kind of go, but really it just kind of cuts it down to a phone size and stuff. So you don't have to worry about too much of that way, because you can go to your timeline, right click, and you go to timeline settings, and this kind of lets you use project settings, or you can clip it and change it, and that's what we'll do for a vertical showcase thing later. So now we go to clipping and stuff, but you see the file's huge, it's hard to move around with, so you go to edit, you find some spots you like, you go to cut, you right click on it, and you cut. Now for the record, so you know, we're just going to show this real quick. If you do a cut without selecting anything, it will cut all the stuff. So we have two cuts there. If you want to cut just one thing, you just click the one thing you want to cut, and then you right click on the little tab here and cut. And that just cuts that. Also, if you cut some things off like this, and I cut this out here, as let's say I got rid of everything else, and I'm like, oh, I just wish I could go a little further with this part here and stuff. I'm gonna make another track so I can get these muted. I wanted to make this go over here, but let's say I deleted this over here. Well, you can just click and drag, and you can lengthen the file back to its kind of like original thing. So that is how you do the cuts. Also, Control Z works here, so in case you haven't noticed. So we got this here. So what I like to do is when I cut, I move it up. There's a reason for that later. And let's just I'll cut here, go down here, we'll cut here. We'll say this is our next file thing, and then we'll do a quick one. We'll just go around here and we'll just cut here. So now I've got 3 cuts and all that. Now you can use delete key when you're trying to get rid of files you don't need and stuff in cut, but be careful when you're doing it in edit, because there's a lot more they can go wrong with edit. It's kind of like gives you a lot more freedom just to ruin your videos basically. So when you're doing this, it's better instead of hitting X, or delete, to go to your thing here and you click delete. Select it. That way you can kind of avoid things. But see how I put them on a different track? Allows me to make sure I don't hit the videos I've clipped out. So we can enlarge it. Actually, did I hit? Okay, no, I didn't. So move that over here. Then we're just going to slam them together. Make that a little smaller so I can get to the start of the video. You'll also notice with Davinci, the video starts at 1 hour already. So now we have gotten to the editing itself. So you got little clips and stuff going in. So we're going to talk about the zoom in effects and stuff. So let's say you want to zoom in somewhere. You see in the top right, you see video, transform. You set keyframes. Keyframes mean that between one keyframe and the next keyframe, you're going to have an effect change in here. Transform is your zoom, your your video itself will be moving. Your video. So let me just show like this. Like, you know, you zoom in and out. The actual video zooms in and out. So if you're zooming in, you know, because it's bigger than the screen, it's not a problem. When you try to zoom out, you can have some issues if you're not already zoomed in because, you know, it's not going to help. But there can be certain effects you can use that for. Now, another thing is, if you don't have any keyframe set, your whole video will be altered that way. So keyframes kind of set for it to go from one point to the other. So if you're going to start doing keyframes, it's good to set kind of what I call safety keyframes. Now, when you click the whole button up here, it gets the whole section. So all of that stuff is protected. So I put like right here. So now between keyframe 1 and 2 on these two areas, then nothing will happen because I made sure nothing can do it. So any keyframes after that won't cause a problem. But if you put between, there'll be shift between them. So these little dash arrows will also go to the next keyframe you've set for it. So if you're zooming one place and positioning another, it can be different. So we have a keyframe here. So everything back there is safe. So let's say we want to zoom in here. We can set a keyframe here for zoom, but we can also just set it for all because, well, we're not going to be editing anything separately and stuff. You can figure it out. So we can just zoom in. You can see that zoom in is linked together. If we unlink it, it will stretch it. So not a big issue and stuff to do. But now what we have is a zoom effect. Now positioning would be like moving it left and right. You can do panning that way. So know that. Rotation, just spinning it. Pitch and yaw, kind of like, you know, Star Wars title effect kind of stuff, you know, or sideways. There's really cool things you can do with pitch and yaw when you do it with your videos and stuff like that. Now, if you want to do a quick zoom, but you see, also, it's stated afterwards because we never made a zoom effect. We'll put thing here. We'll just set it back to 1.0 zoom. And so now we have this effect. Zooms in, zooms out. Cool, right? So let's say I want to quick zoom. You know, not like a quick zoom in, like a literal snap in. So what you will do instead is you will clip out. You'll cut the area you want zoomed in, right? So now we've clipped it. And we don't have to do anything with the keyframes because we're not utilizing keyframes here. You can, up here on the right side, these little circle arrows are ways to get rid of all the keyframes of that thing on the, you can clear basically the keyframes on the clip. So now we have no thing, so now we can just zoom in. So now what we get is this. It moves around and we have a quick zoom in effect and a quick zoom out because that clip itself is just zoomed in. So we've separated them and that's how you can do that. And that's basically everything for with the basic zooms. Now another thing is, we'll get to the cropping in a minute, but cropping is another thing you can do with the effects too, but you can like remove it. So if you have two videos in there, you could crop out certain things. Like if you have, like for me, my model, I could make my model a separate part and I can zoom in like that. So let's go to the, let me see what's going to do next. We got transform here. So, yeah, titles and text and transitions. So transitions is your fade in and out effect. It's very simple. You just pick one here and it can also fade in between two clips. So like this to here, you can see it just transitions. And normally it's just a snap, but also you could, if you set it with just with nothing at the back, you've got to fade in. You can also do it for fade out. So that's how transitions work. There's a lot of certain things you can do with your dream sequences, fade ins, fade out, that kind of stuff. So let's go with titles. Let's see, you're adding text to it real quick. So you can see I'm trying to put text in there, but there's a problem. It's clipping to the bottom one. So your videos, your files want to be in that first video for the most part. It wants something there. Anything above gets more freedom. So we're going to move everything to video clip 1 because then it's right here, right? So now I can put text anywhere. So that's just a clip thing you should understand with that. So text, you can change the color of it, whatever. You can see the thing up there. You can also set right on to right off. This is pretty quick. Going to go on. If you click 2 points to that, 2 keyframes, and you have it, we'll put 0 at the first, and we'll have it at 1.0 at the end. And so what it does is it basically types out the phrase for that duration at that pacing. So you can kind of like time it just right. You can have your friends like words and stuff and the subtitles type out as they're talking. Another thing is to know is you can do settings here and you can do transformation on it too. So it's just like everything else with your setting it or adding in your keyframes. You can affect this just like you can with the other editing and stuff. But we've already gone over it, so I'm not going to go further. Shading. Don't worry about the color when it says these shadings and stuff, because you can see all these effects like red outline. If I enable that, it puts a red outline on it. But if I make it black, now we've got a traditional black outline letter, make it wider. You can make it white. It can help your title stand out in the background. Now we're going to go over real quick Fusion. This is why I chose the title. So, because you can make it a lot more. So we have the thing there. Let's just go with my favorite here. There's 1,000 of these things practically, so it's there. But camera shake. So I add it to the text. I can do good for angry, emotional, or like scared things. So that makes it shake. Now it's still going on the same thing. So if you lower the deviations, it shakes less far. And that can make it more vibraty, and I like to do that. And this is like what I do for like when people are screaming or angry at me. They're just shaking and stuff. Now, if you see any lag with it, because Fusion is actually a much more laggy thing. So if you have a lower computer, Fusion is more difficult to work with and stuff because of that. So it does use more intense things. Some things my computer won't even work with, like the glitch effect or something. It does not like that. It uses so much memory and other space in there, but you can see this way. So if I change the text to a scream or something, this is what you'll see in my shorts all the time. Things like screams and stuff and shaking and moving and rotated differently and stuff, zoom ins and outs. I like doing the shaking screams. So that's how that works. So now we're going to get rid of this because we don't know what we're next for. Because now we're going to talk about short form content. Now short form content is different. You can see in this, we're going to go up to media pool. We're going to go to timelines, right click on timeline settings. You can also do in project settings and just change everything. It's not going to hurt you much, but we've got everything set up in horizontal. Now you don't want to edit before you set to vertical content. You want to do that afterwards because everything's going to change drastically. What you're going to want to do is always get all the clips you're going to use for your short. And we'll go to vertical content and you can see it just clips off all the sides. So that's vertical content. So there's multiple ways of doing this. You can see you can do the straight down the middle site and stuff, right? That's one way of doing vertical content. Another way would be to, let me just move this up. I will copy this, go to the back where it was because it's going to post, when you copy and paste things, it's going to be in the same track it was in and stuff. So. But when you do track one, you can see it will push things forward. So either you've got to move everything back like this, but you got to make sure you don't get the blank space because the blank space doesn't matter. But you can see I went over something here because I forgot about that, and it causes a hole. So you got to be careful when you're moving things, or you can move this up, copy it, move it back, paste it. It's on the second layer. Oh, you got to make sure you select the right one too when you do it. Otherwise, you can the clicking and stuff will cause a lot of issues because you can accidentally select multiple clips and you're not wanting to. So now we've got 2 clips in one spot. You also definitely want one side muted so that you don't have echoes and stuff. But now we have 2 clips. So you can see here, get rid of all the keyframes here. So I have the keyframes for the transformation, so I can have it all set perfectly, right? So we zoom out, and now you have this full clip here. This is one possibility. Full clip in the middle, zoomed in clip in the back. Could be also, you can use the color setting to make it blur, mosaic, or whatever, so that they focus on the middle stuff, and then everything's going on here. It's smaller, but that's one of the possibilities to do it. Now the other technique to that is if you can just separate it to be not trying to block the way, but you have short form content that you're trying to be curated properly and stuff, right? It looks right, it's in the right position, and this can be out of the way at top. So now it's just giving you a different vantage spot, and so everything's sane. But as you can see, the problem is it's not going to, you have to do it for every little clip or something, but sometimes you might want to show it more that way in the clips and stuff like that. So you can do separate at the top, you can do it straight in the center, or you can just forgo it and just have it in the middle. Now, another quick thing we can do sometime is for streamers or VTubers and stuff like me. You can crop your video stuff like this. And so let's say I'm trying to be out of the clip or whatnot and stuff, but I want to show my face. Well, now I'm here in the corner. I'm not taking a lot of room, and I've cropped it around my model's head and stuff. So I'm visible and the video's visible, because short form content is a little bit more difficult with this kind of stuff because you have less to work with. And that's the problem with it, because they're going to be looking, it's going to be small content because you're already losing resolution on the side. So you either got to do middle stuff, you do split form. So you might have, sometimes I do like the games on the top bit, and I have a small bit here that shows my model and face, so that I'm more like in the clip or something. And then of course I'll crop it less out of the way and stuff, and I'll be on the bottom so you can see me reacting to what's going on top. But then you can also clip the top to be more showy for stuff, but then you can see your model on the side. It doesn't matter sometimes. It's all about personal preference here and doing things accordingly, and that's how you get vertical content going. You just set this to vertical, and now you've got less room to work with, but it's the same editing stuff, but you're just trying to make it look good in that thing. Now remember, vertical content, you're going to want to be under a minute. That's the traditional way. You can go longer, but you definitely don't want to do over a minute for a lot of these contents and stuff, because people aren't going to pay much attention. You want to hook within the first 3 seconds, and anything that's kind of moderately funny or fun or enjoyable or attractive, you kind of want to clip out unless it really is necessary to tell the whole story. Because if you ever get something that's less exciting, you want them to already be hooked onto it. In that first 3 seconds, more important, they want to know what's going on, what's the end of the joke, is it going to be as funny as it seems like it's setting up to be, is there going to be something amazing here, I need to know. And that's what vertical content's about. And so that's how you make your vertical content. Again, just remember, right click, timeline settings, and set to vertical content. It just flips the resolution. Doesn't matter whether you're doing 1K, 2K, or 4K in the end. Don't worry about it so much. Even though they say 4K format's better to the 1K that YouTube uses, those are just the 3 formats you're going to want. And again, because this is the first thing we went over, it's the most important, delivery. You see your file name, your location, MP4, H.264. 6.5 is just a smaller version of 6.4 and lower quality. So, MP4, H.264, file name, location, add to render queue, put your thing on it. So let's just, I just set it up here for this, timeline 1. You set, file name's not going to be your video name when you're adding to YouTube, for anyone that's really, like, really green behind the ears. And then you just go here, you see it here, and you just render all, and this will make that video in that location at that name. And this is MP4, H.264, we're good. And that is how you do some basic video editing and such like that. And if you made it this far, congratulations again. You now know how to start editing. Editing is a very simple measure. You're just cutting the video, shrinking it together, cutting out the flack, and doing a few zoom-ins and stuff to emphasize certain moments. But sometimes videos don't even need editing very much, and that's fine. You can have a pure raw video, but just zoom in at certain points that you think are hilarious or really need emphasis. You should shift them around when you're making like vertical formats and stuff, because that's where you really need editing, trying to fit that in. But there are ways to do it with minimal editing. You just have to know that you can kind of, you know, make the center point and then just put your video in the dead center of it. There's not much editing needed that you have to do. So, I mean, in the end, you can choose whether you want to do heavy editing, specialized editing, or try something brand new and crazy. Editing is all about learning about how you make your videos. So don't worry so much on all the issues and other things and trying to be an over-perfectionist. Just get started. You will not get good without trying, and you're not going to be able to try unless you start making videos. So get started. Anyways, that's really all I can tell you guys about. Just remember, just cut and move. That's all editing is, and export as MP4 H.264. That's pretty much it, guys. That's all it takes to edit videos. Use Davinci, use another program, it doesn't matter. They all more or less end up with the same result. The editing is the same style and stuff and approach. So just get started, make videos, and keep on content creating, everyone. Anyways, that's all I can really talk about this because I'm not good at it. I don't like it. So as always, everyone, I'll be heading out. Next week, we may look into art or something else. Who knows? So as always, everyone, until next time.